Good afternoon. It's just 10 past noon now here in Israel. So during the last couple of days or weeks, I've spoken about things that I think that are very important to understand my situation and the situation in Israel. Even though those were not new things as far as I like my web blogging. I mean, I've spoken about it on other stages besides YouTube and written about it like for years now. So it's not anyone that listen to me or read what I write for like years now, and I know that at least a little bit of such people. I mean, it's nothing new to them, but I understand that important things should be reiterated, and there is value on stressing out subjects that are really important again in YouTube. So I will do another one of these right now. I will speak about something that I've spoken about about it many times before, but actually never in one concentrated video or audio. So it will be a little bit new in a way that it's the first time that I will do a little small monograph on this issue, and not treat it like it's something that is related to other subjects as well. And the issue that I will speak about right now is, the psychological issues of the women and men that are part of the Israeli security system, and why they act the way they act. Because I've presented amazingly cruel and disgusting behaviors that they do during the past couple of weeks. And I've told you many times that it's just the tip of the iceberg, and there is much more than that. And I think that some people can just now wonder, ask themselves, how are they like that? What makes them so disgusting? So I will try to give a little bit of psychological background, but it's very important to say it. Very, very boldly right now. I do not subscribe to the notion that understanding equals forgiving. Not at all. The state of Israel should be destroyed completely, destroyed for its sins. The people of Israel are cruel and should lose their state. This is something that I'm 100% certain about. I do not think that understanding equals forgiving. For me, if anything, it's just the opposite. If I do not understand something, or if I do not even have the shred, like a thread for understanding a phenomenon, I keep wondering, what's going on over here? So it's difficult for me to actually to be mad at something if I do not think that at least if I do not partly understand it. If something is, from my point of view, completely chaotic, I find it difficult to be indicative towards it, to be to see it as a criminal behavior, because I don't understand what's going on. So no, understanding is not forgiving. Understanding from my point of view is just the opposite of forgiving. When I understand something, I can tell, in the greatest way of in the most certain way, yes, these people are evil, and I understand the psychological roots of their evil, and yes, they deserve punishment, and they deserve first of all, they deserve to lose their state. They do not need nor deserve to have an independent state. So having said that, what makes the Israelis so cruel and disgusting? Especially the people of the internal intelligence, the people of the Shabak, but it's not only limited to the Shabak. It's you can see it all over the Israeli society. So the main reason, there are a couple of reasons. There are several reasons here, but the main psychological reasons is actually something that again I will create comparison to pop culture in order to understand it. But the main reason, the TLDR of the TLDR, is that they are cruel children. It's a society of cruel children. They are not adults. And this is true both for the pedophiles and homosexuals that are very common in the intelligence community, and also for the Titan slaves, women that I know that some of them like are very old actually, but it doesn't matter if they are even 100 years old or 200 years old. They are children in their hearts, and not in a good way, but in a very bad way. And this is something that should also be stressed right in the beginning. Like childhood, many times childhood is associated with like honesty or naivety and good heart and openness and all sorts of like romantic issues. That's, by the way, wasn't always like that. It's something that is strongly related to the romantic movement. It's not always. I mean, humanity did not always equate childhood with like all those like good characteristics. There is a famous Jewish educator, Janusz Korczak. He died in the Holocaust. He was in his last job. He was manager of an orphanage, and when they took all the orphans, the Jewish orphans, to the death camps to kill them, like the Nazis, he had the opportunity. He was pretty at the time he was pretty famous, and like he had connections pretty high, like in high places. He was he's a known figure. He's not very, very known even today, Janusz Korczak. And so when they took all the children, he had the opportunity just, to escape using connection. He famously chose to just walk with them, and they just to go to the extermination camp and to die with them. And it was his last famous act, but he was actually very famous even before that. And an anecdote is that he wrote a book, a novel. That's the way I was introduced to him actually when I was a child, like with Yotam HaKassam. It's a novel about a child that is he understands that he's actually a sorcerer, and that there are sorcerers in the world, and it's somehow comparable to Harry Potter, which is an anecdote, of course, written many decades before Harry Potter. He was also a writer and an educator. So one of his famous, like the most famous motives from, and he was also an academic. Like he had a whole kind of like a picture of the world, like an academic method about regarding the nature of education. And so one of his famous worldviews is that he said, children are not Satans, and they're not angels. They are not devils, and they are not saints. Children are small humans, and just like there are many kinds of humans, there are many kinds of children, and children can be like naive or malicious or good or bad, and like children have like a lot of like characteristics, many characteristics, and the way to educate children the correct way is just to understand that, to understand the child that is in front of you, and it's actually rooted in the sort of Chazal, like all the Talmudic scribes from like thousands of years ago, that Chanuch Nar al Pi Darko, meaning you should educate the child according to his way or to his nature, because they also thought that children, like, they have various natures, and it might sound like obvious, but it wasn't obvious, and it's still not obvious, because many people romanticize children. They think of children as like also like archetypes of like devils or satans or saints or angels, but in reality, children are like, they are small humans, and it is true for the people here in Israel, for the Shabak adults and the Venusians, like the female foreigners. They are small humans. That's what they are. They did not grow up. So just like humans, they have all kinds of characteristics, but they are small. They have limited understanding of the world, because they did not grow up. Even if they are 200 years old, they did not grow up. And this is a curiosity. It's in itself, it's very bad, but it's it's exponentially worse because these people run the country. This is this is the main source of all evilness in Israel. And I will also, I mean, if you're speaking about like of like classic Hebrew literature or old, very old Hebrew, I mean, relatively, it's not old like in when we say very old Hebrew literature, we speak about like 70 or 80 years old, because I mean, Hebrew literature for children did not exist, I mean, more than like 120 years. It's something that, I mean, only began in the beginning of the 20th century, or perhaps like small, I mean, small incursions into the things were already happened like in the middle of the 19th century, but nobody knew about it. I mean, famous Hebrew literature for children only existed since the beginning of the 20th century. So when we speak about old Hebrew literature for children, it's not old in the English like or French or any other or almost any other language that you can think about in their standard. So there is also a famous Hebrew, I mean, classical Hebrew and novel for children, which is called Melech Mati Arishon, the first king Matthias, which is concerns about it deals with like a fantastic kingdom where children actually overthrew the government and they installed a child king to rule over the country, and it turned out very badly. I mean, it's kind of realistic in a way that it's like they start wars and there is poverty, and I mean, it was like again, it's coming. You can continue to say, okay, that's the obvious conclusion, but I mean, the interesting thing about it is that it's a book for children. I mean, it's not something like, I mean, it demonstrated for children why children cannot really rule, I mean, the country, because it will not have a good result like they can sometimes imagine it, if only they will do, I mean, that they have all the answers, but they don't. So this is Israel, Melech Mati Arishon, the first king Mati. This is it. It's a state that is run by children, by people that did not grow up, both women and men. And it's not funny at all. It's evil and cruel, and it should be terminated. It's cruel to its essence, and it's really, really bad. Because children cannot rule a country. There are good children and there are bad children, there are naive children and there are malicious children, smart and stupid. Children are just small, as Janusz Korczak said, they are small adults. But they cannot rule a country. They need to be big adults in order to rule a country. They need to grow up, and they never grew up in Israel. They stayed children, both men and women, for slightly different reasons that I will elaborate on in a minute. Even though I think that, I mean, you can already understand the gist of it. I mean, the essence, I mean, can already be understood. But I will elaborate on a minute. So that's what we have here. A kingdom led by children, by cruel and mostly like immature, as children are immature. And I will mention another pop culture artifact, which is the movie Hook by Spielberg. It's actually a movie that it does not consider one of his bests. It's kind of like, it's considered mediocre by many, but I really liked the movie. I've seen it several times, and I liked it since I was a boy. It came out when I was like 6 years old. I didn't saw it on theater. I was too young, I think. I was 6 years old, but later I've seen it in VHS and other, like, I mean, throughout the years, like, I've seen it several times, and I really liked the movie, and I never really understood why, but it's only, like, it came to me really late in my life, like, only in the last couple of years, why I love this movie, because it's kind of a prophecy from my point of view. It explains a lot, like, I mean, in a queer way, it's explained a lot of, like, things that happened in my life, especially later, I mean, during the last couple of years, because I in many ways, and it's sad, it's not funny at all, but in many ways, I'm that guy, like, I am Robin Williams, like, in the movie, in this movie. It's very sad, but it is true. I am this guy. And I felt like that many times during the last decade, but especially during the last couple of years. Like a guy that returns, kind of like a Jesus figure that returns to the land where he was famous for, but he discovered that, I mean, he's not what they expect, and he doesn't understand why he needs to be what they expect. I mean, he's a father. Now he's a grown man. He's a father to children. His children were taken from him, and it is not. I mean, it's the situation right now. But as you understand, it's a constant situation in the last 7 years since my daughter or my Orin, my first my old the older daughter was born. And then like a year after Ila was born, and since they were born, I mean, they were always, I mean, I was always in kind of a fight with the state, like of why they are taken from me by evil pirates? Why? I'm the guy. I am Robin Williams in the movie, in many ways, and people keep and like, just like in the movie, people keep like want me to prove that I'm really him, because they say you don't look like him at all. I mean, we know the guy. We remember Peter Pan. I mean, we understand its importance, and I mean, we remember the things that he did, and we even appreciate him. But you are not the guy. You can't be the guy because you are old, and you are a father, and he's a boy like us. He's a lost boy like us. How can you expect us to believe that you are him while you are a father? And I mean, look at you. You have a beard and you have like a tummy and I mean, and you are interested in sexually interested in women and in like, I mean, like in grown women, like an adult. I mean, you are not a boy. And the most problematic things about you know what's the most problematic thing about you? Peter Pan, or the person that thinks that he is Peter Pan but he's not. You know what's your main disadvantage? You cannot do the things that define not only Peter Pan but us as well. I mean, yes, of course, Peter Pan flies and he can swashbuckle, and maybe you can learn to fly with your Tesla, and maybe you can learn to swashbuckle with the pirates of the Shabak. But there is one thing that you cannot do. So that's why you are not Peter Pan, you know. And this thing defines all of us, not only Peter Pan, but all of us. And you cannot do it. Well, we do it every day. You know what you cannot do? I'll tell you what you cannot do. You cannot imagine that a meal exists on the table and then participate in the feast, in eating it. You cannot imagine it. You actually think that, I mean, people should actually go to work, like boring adult, put the food on real food on the table after they prepare the food. They actually work to prepare the food, and then eat it like just by seeing the food with using their eyes, and just eat the food that is on the table and nothing else, not more and no less. You want to do this, but we do not do this here. Here in Never Neverland, we don't do this. We imagine that the food is on the table, and it's enough for it to appear. And only if you will positively demonstrate that you are able to imagine that the food is on the table, only then we might accept you as Peter Pan. So no, unlike in the movie, I cannot imagine that the food is on the table. I do not have this capacity. Maybe I had it in the past, but no longer. I am a father now, and a father cannot imagine that the food is on the table. A father does not have that privilege. A father cannot do it. Maybe I had this thing. Maybe I was like you in the past, even though, I mean, it's hard for me to believe, but no longer. No, not more, no more. I am a father, and I need to take care of my children, and I cannot imagine that the food is on the table, because that's what they do in Israel, specifically in the intelligence community. They think that if they will imagine something strong enough, and they will all participate in the imagination, it has to be something that is like done in as part of a group. It's not like a trivial, like it's not like a maybe arbitrary aspect of the issue, but it's an essential attribute of the show. It's done with many people like around the table, because they should all imagine together that there is food on the table and it will just be there. Just the way that they think in Israel about many I mean, it's not only the intelligence community, but as John Lacar wrote, and it's very true, the intelligence services are the subconscious of a nation, and it's true. This is the subconscious of the Israeli nation, I mean, at large. But it's mostly defines the intelligence community. They think if we will imagine something, we will pretend it's there, we will gaslight not only our victim, but we will gaslight ourselves strong enough, it will be the truth. We just need to pretend. We just need to imagine and to tell each other that it's there. And we need to agree with each other. Yes, the food is on the table. We see the food. This table is full of food. We see mountains of food on the table, and it will be the truth. It will be positively the truth, and it will be no less truth than any other truth. And it will be even more truth than if actual adults will bring food to the table and prepare it. Our feast will actually be better than theirs. That's the way that they act and think in Israel. And these people run the country, and this is cool. It's cool and evil. It's not fun at all. It is cool and evil, and it must be stopped. It must be stopped. Now let's leave aside the pop culture's reference and let's speak more to the point. Even though, as I said, I mean, you already understand. I think that everyone that knows Israelis can understand what I speak about. But let's be more concrete regarding the pedophiles and homosexuals that are so common in the Israeli community. I mean, they don't understand reality because they never had to. I mean, typically they joined the community while they were still teenagers. So they were actually children when they joined the intelligence community. And they never grew up. They never had to, because they never had to actually face the most important aspects that define adults, which is money, family, and sex. And these three things are related very heavily, because sex and family, I mean, you start a family with typically, and sorry, I mean, I'm really sorry that I'm keeping like LGBTQ now outside, and it's a huge subject that I've spoken about in the past, and I do not shy away from speaking about it. And as you know, my views on the subject are conservative, and but let's leave it on the side for a second. But typically, humans, I mean, it's not something religious. It's not something that, it comes from basic like nature of the biology of humans and their existence on the face of the earth since forever. They marry people, or they don't have to go to actually marry, but they romantically and they start families with men and women that are having like a sexual interest in each other, and and they're linked to each other, and then there's part of this, a strong part of the glue that ties them is sexual interest. Not the only thing. It's not the only thing, and it's better that there are other things besides sexual attraction. But yes, it's important part of the deal and yes, marriage or long-term relationship are kind of a deal. Yes, they are, and part of the deal is sex. Yes, it is. So they start this thing that is called the family, and then they're having children, and then they need money, so they work. So, in the past, it was more like, the division of labor was, it was known to be like that women did things more like inside the house or in the vicinity, and men did things that need to be like more outside of the house or not in the vicinity of the house. But it wasn't actually that clear even in ancient times, and not everywhere. And today, famously, it's not like that. And it's great that it's not like that. I don't think that it should be like that. It's not like a universal constant, but there should be some kind of division of labor that people not enforced by society, but that people should choose by their own volition. So the labor is divided between the father and the mother and their own children, and children they need money to grow up. So these things are related, but these are the basic terms of humanity. And the people in Israel, the homosexuals and the pedophiles that are so common in the intelligence community, they don't understand these simple issues because they were never had to face it. since they were teenagers, their mother and father and employer was the state of Israel. And that's the way that it stays until they die. They can live to 100 years old, 200 years old, but it will be like that. Their mother is the state of Israel, their father is the state of Israel, their employer is the state of Israel. And they got used with the idea that, if they need a wife, the state of Israel supply them with a slave wife. If they need a job, and they need a job, the state of Israel supplies them with a job according to their skills. The state of Israel gives them anything. There is only the state, only Never Land. That's the only thing that their only authority is the state itself. They live in a pirate ship, and the only source of authority is the land itself, the state and the land. Not, they have no fathers, no mothers, and no real wives. Their wives are slaves that supply to them like commodity. Their jobs are fabricated by the government itself, and their money is just, like in the case of pirates, the money is allocated, from the loot. Because that's what, that they think that money comes from looting, from just, they don't understand what work is at all. They don't understand what production and manufacturing is at all. They just don't understand it. They think that, if you want money, someone else should lose the money because it's a zero sum. According to their naivety, to their infantile way of thought, because they are infantile, they are little children, they never grew up. So they think, okay, if I in order for me to get money, someone else should lose the money. Of course, how else could it be, right? That's the infantile. That's why they think that the world is zero sum game, like pirates. That's what they are. They are all Hook. They are all the slaves of Hook, and Hook is the state. So they think, okay, we need money. Someone else should lose the money. So let's take it from them. Otherwise, how should we have money? And then we just split it. Among us. Not necessarily equally, because there are ranks. There are like higher pirates like Hook and I don't know Sam or whatever his name, and they are the lowest pirates. They accept that, but that's distribution of loot is the main source of income in Israel, at least according to the sort of the people in the intelligence service. That's how they conceptualize life. As a never-ending pirate ship that roams Never Land, where there are no adults at all. That's the way it is. Now regarding the women, the Venusians. As I said, some of them are actually very old, but they didn't, and they could even, some of them could even be smart, and they have knowledge on all sorts of specific fields, but they too, like the men, they were subjugated in very early age. They too, started their career in Israel, their slave career in Israel as young adults, but not real adults, and or even babies in many cases, and they never had to learn what reality is, because like the men, for different reasons, but like the men, like the pedophiles and homosexuals, they never had to actually stand in their own, and they never had to learn the consequences of sexuality, of family, and of money. Because like the men, sexuality is something that is totally abnormal for them, not to their fault, because there are like biological barriers, and also because as I've spoken about it many times during the last couple of weeks, the Israelis do not want them to actually have sexual life, because they want them to be their slaves. So that's part of the slavery, that they will not have sexual life. So they accept the fact that they do not have sexual life at all, and they part of the deal is that they belong to the country, so the country is their father and mother. This is comparable to the situation of the males, of the pedophiles and homosexuals. That their mother is the state of Israel, and the father is the state of Israel, and also the employer is also typically the state of Israel, because either they work in the intelligence, like in the Shabak or the Mossad, so it's like literally the employer is the state of Israel, or they have all sorts of like things, jobs in the private sector, but they totally accept the fact that it's not really a private sector and the capitalism is a bullshit. They totally submit to this notion, and they know that actually, I mean, the success is totally is controlled by the totalitarian state of Israel, which is not a real capitalism, a real free market, because the government can do whatever it wants to them. So they always need to be under their boot. So they accept the fact that they have no sexual life. They accept the fact that their own father and mother is the state of Israel. They accept the fact that, I mean, their material wealth is totally controlled by the government itself. So they put themselves in a way, in a situation that is very, very similar or even almost identical to the situation of the males that I've just described. That basically, they stay children. They never grow up. So we have a state that is run by both males and females that are basically children. They never had to grow up. They don't understand the most important aspect of humanity, which is the role of sex in human life, the role of family, and the role of children and the relations between children and parents, and most of all, and perhaps most importantly, what exactly is money. They don't understand at all what money is. And it's important because money is just a symbol for, I mean, for like how people are sustain themselves. And when they don't understand, when the people that actually run the country do not understand how humanity is sustaining itself, they will regress. They will, I mean, in Israel, they don't need to regress to it because they were always like that, but they in their soul, they will regress, intuitively, they will regress to the way of pirates. Of people that think that, I mean, in order for us to exist, we need to take something from other people, and that's what they do. So it's a pirate country, led by people that, I mean, do not understand reality at all, and that they are basically children, cruel children, and they never grew up, both men and women. And that's the source of their cruelty and of their, I mean, inhuman treatment of other people. And this country should be destroyed. This country should be terminated.